Hey everybody, Home/Hunter here, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing an incredible run at the Indian Regional Playoffs by Nava Empire 00, who brought a team of 6 featuring Furret and was able to, through this run at the tournament, successfully qualify for the 2025 Pokemon Go World Championships later this year in Anaheim, California. Now the full team is as follows: Azumarill, Jumpluff, Furret, Shadow Sableye, Clodsire, and Alolan Sandslash. Unfortunately, this tournament was not streamed, but the good news is, thanks to Nava sending in his footage, we will get to see these exciting battles and watch Furret qualify for the World Championships. Nava's first opponent is running a pretty interesting team of 6. Azumarill, Galarian Weezing, Shadow Annihilape, Swalot, Shadow Sableye, and Credilli. At first glance, the Shadow Sableye for Nava is incredibly strong here. It basically doesn't really have any bad matchups outside of the Galarian Weezing. And on top of that, Furret looks pretty decent as well. The leads are set for game number 1. Alolan Sandslash for Nava leads into Azumarill. Azumarill, not the worst Pokemon to see here. Alolan Sandslash, since it is running Powder Snow, will typically not be favored, but this can potentially set up a soft loss and a farm down for the Shadow Sableye. And Shadow Sableye energy is terrifying into the opponent's team. We do see that Nava has opted to run an ABA strategy, completely disrespecting the Annihilape lead, confident in the fact that the threat of the Shadow Sableye has scared off the Annihilape from being played. Here we are going to see an overfarm by the Azumarill, letting the Sandslash make another Drill Run. Drill Run is going to connect. There's a save switch into Sableye. The opponent potentially predicting no Furret in the back because it would be ABA to Annihilape. But the Furret's here, and it will do a very nice job at handling this Shadow Sableye. Sableye now going to be met with a Trailblaze. We do see an undercharge from the Furret. Furret going to go for a 1 shield farm down now, and thanks to not hitting all the bubbles, Furret's going to get extra farm. This will leave Furret a lot closer to a charge attack. In comes the Galarian Weezing as the final Pokemon, and Weezing's going to take pretty significant damage from the boosted Swift. Weezing is going to be forced to fire off some energy here. We will see the no shield from the Furret. It is going to be the Sludge. This Weezing is on Sludge Overheat. In comes Shadow Sableye. Shadow Sableye farming up. There's the switch into the Sandslash. Is this going to be the Overheat? It is not. It is a Sludge bait. The Weezing is going to get a farm down. In comes Sableye, but the opponent just does not have enough for the Overheat. Azumarill gets farmed down, and Nava takes the 1-0 lead. This is a best of 3, so that means Nava only has to win one of the next 2 if he wants to advance on the winner's side of this tournament. I'm expecting he's not going to run back the hard ABA to Annihilape line, and we will see an adjustment in strategy for game number 2. The leads are locked in. It's Furret into Weezing. This is not a good matchup for the Furret, but considering that the Sableye is in the back, this means that Sableye will get to avoid the Weezing. So even though Furret not going to do the greatest here, Furret can hopefully soft lose this and then set up the Sableye for success. We see a no shield from the Furret. It is going to be the Sludge, and that does do pretty significant damage. We're now going to see a catching the Sludge onto the Shadow Sableye. Sludge is going to be resisted. It does still add up, though. We're going to see a foul play and a catch from the opponent as they make a nice catch of their own onto Azumarill. So that catch honestly does make life a bit uncomfortable. Going to make it to the Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam does do very nice damage onto that Azumarill. Azumarill cannot farm down here. Sableye would have made another foul play, so the opponent makes the correct decision, which is to fire off the Ice Beam to secure the knockout. In comes Clodsire. This Clodsire is on Stone Edge and Earthquake. Tough call to make here. Nava's going to decide to take the damage here. In the back is going to be the opponent's own Sableye. Sableye will be chipped with a Stone Edge. No, the opponent commits the shield. In comes Furret. And this is a really tough spot to be in for Nava. Furret will be able to boost itself up with the Trailblaze, but is it going to be enough? The Weezing already has a Sludge banked. The Sableye should be able to get to a move as well. And this just kind of feels like checkmate. Sableye is going to go for the foul play to grab the shield. There's the snipe. Combo play with the Weezing. Weezing denies Furret's energy there. In comes the Clodsire. Clodsire needs a farm down here to pull off the win, but it can't quite get there. The Weezing just too healthy. Makes the overheat. That plus a Fairy Wind will knock out the Clodsire. And we're now moving to a decisive game number 3. So that Wheezing did prove to be quite problematic for Nava in that game number 2. Nava couldn't quite find his footing, as Furret and Sableye both had their fair share of struggles. So for game 3, we are going to see another adjustment in strategy from Nava. Nava is going to lead Jumpluff into the Shadow Sableye, a very nice lead win. We do see the Alolan Sandslash and the Clodsire in the back, and this is a very interesting moveset on the Jumpluff, opting for the double nuke moveset on the Jumpluff of Energy Ball and Acrobatics. Now these movesets are locked in for the entire tournament. So regular Jumpluff, of course, doesn't have the same damage output as the Shadow would, but it does have a lot more survivability. We're going to see a Dazzling Gleam from the Sableye. Sableye trying to punish a no-shield, but Nava correctly gets that shield call right, and now goes for the Acrobatics, and down goes Sableye. Out comes Wheezing, but Wheezing is going to take pretty significant damage from Acrobatics. This is an amazing charge move. It does big damage. The opponent, they decide against a Fairy Wind farm down. Instead, they are going to end up firing off a Sludge, but now Clodsire can hit the field. Clodsire is going to do great here, even if it is the full Scent Overheat. This is fine. Clodsire not even taking half damage in the back. Oh no, it's Shadow Annihilate, and that's not what you want to see when your final Pokemon is Alolan Sandslash. The good news, however, is that this Clodsire was so far ahead on energy, and Shadow Annihilate does not appreciate Earthquakes, so even though there is that Sandslash lurking in the back, things are looking pretty good for the Clodsire. Clodsire Earthquake connects, there's a switch into the Sandslash, sniping down with fast moves, in comes Wheezing, opponent is going to concede the match, and Nava advances by a score of 2-1. Winners round 2 is Nava up against Himanshu, who's running an interesting team built around Lapras and Claydol. Those two Pokemon do have some pretty nice synergy, and pairing it up with a Jumpluff, Pangoro, Clodsire, and the double flying Talonflame. In this matchup with Pangoro, a bit more difficult to bring the Furret, so we will see Furret left on the bench for game number 1. But it's a really tough lead. Nava ran ABA weak to the Lapras, and the Lapras is here. We're going to see a massive overfarm by the Lapras and the Azumarill. Azumarill going to break the stalemate, go for a play rough. The opponent is going to save all that energy on the Lapras because their Lapras moveset is walled by the Azumarill, and now send in Jumpluff. But Jumpluff is going to take some pretty significant damage from Azumarill. Ice Beam connects, double super effective damage. This Jumpluff is going to return fire with an Energy Ball. Azumarill, however, with the energy head start, makes it to a second Ice Beam, and that's going to pressure a shield from the opponent. So, unfortunately, this Lapras energy could still be a real nuisance, but at minimum, Nava has gotten the shield advantage that would be so desperately needed. If Nava can get a farm down here, that would be very nice, and the opponent realizes the farm down cannot be allowed, and there's the switch into the Lapras. Lapras going to be answered with the Shadow Sableye now. Shadow Sableye going to commit a shield. Psywaves do very, very little here due to the Dark subtyping. Oh, tried to do one and the move, but misremembered the residual energy on the Lapras, and Lapras is able to force the final shield. There's an overfarm from the Shadow Sableye. At the back-to-back moves here, Foul Play is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, and the final Pokemon is revealed to be Talonflame. Talonflame going to be met with a Foul Play. This is open team sheets, so the opponent, Himanshu, knows that there's no risk of a Power Gem. But back-to-back Foul Plays still do quite a lot of damage. So the opponent is going to be forced to commit a shield. There's a catch attempt onto the Clodsire. Clodsire now going to be met with energy from this Jumpluff. Energy Ball is going to connect. Can Clodsire get a farm down here? Oh no, Clodsire plays to the CMP tie that it does not win. That's the Energy Ball, and unfortunately, I think that is going to turn this game to a loss. Oh, that is tough. Unfortunately, just didn't quite have the energy counts accurate from the opponent, and game 1 will unfortunately end in a loss as Fly KOs Shadow Sableye. So a tough game 1. It felt like there was play, but being ABA weak to that Lapras really put Nava on the defensive. If Nava had an opportunity to get that Poison Sting farm down with the Clodsire, it could have been a different game, but the aggressive gameplay by Himanshu to pivot back in the Lapras set him up for success. Azumarill in the lead, catches Talonflame, a great spot to be as Nava. For Himanshu can potentially consider going for a Brave Bird and a Dip. But to throw on good timing, it will actually allow Nava to make the Ice Beam first. So now Himanshu farms up to the back-to-back moves, Fly plus Brave Bird. Azumarill with the no shield, that's going to be the Brave Bird. There's the safe switch into Lapras, and that will now be answered with the Shadow Sableye. Shadow Sableye going to do very nicely here. Lapras is going to no shield the foul play. Lapras should be able to get back-to-back Sparkling Arias before the Sableye is able to get its next move, but Sableye can trade this for a potential shield and a massive overfarm if it wants to. So that's exactly what Nava's going to do. Nava is going to shield, look to overfarm, get the back-to-back foul plays, and now Himanshu has to double shield or just let this go. So Himanshu does opt to let it go. In the back is going to be Jumpluff. Jumpluff immediately met with a foul play. Foul play is going to be no shielded, but the Clodsire lurking in the back, and Clodsire is going to do a great job at shutting down the Jumpluff. Jumpluff was able to gain an upper hand in the previous match because the Clodsire had already taken damage from the Lapras. But now, Clodsire is at full HP, so unfortunately for this opponent, they are just completely out of options as Clodsire seems absolutely inevitable in this endgame. Energy Ball after Energy Ball, Clodsire just simply does not care, firing off the Stone Edge. This will be lethal if the opponent lets it through. They are going to commit the shield, they go for another charge attack, and Clodsire still does not have to care. Clodsire gonna wait the turn there. The Fairy Wind goes through, so no catch happened. Stone Edge is gonna KO. In comes Talonflame, answered with the Azumarill. And that's a clutch victory as Nava gets to stay on the winner side of the bracket. And now we move to a decisive game number 3. I feel like this version of being ABA weak to Lapras with the Azumarill lead ended up working a lot better. Granted, the Lapras was in the back, but even if you lead into the Lapras, that would be the preferred matchup of the two. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Nava, if he decides to run ABA, which he actually does, he runs back the exact same line. It looks like the opponent had the exact same game plan as they're leading their Game 2 lead as well in Talonflame. Nice overfarm here from Nava, firing off this Ice Beam on perfect timing. No shield by the Talonflame, and they're once again at the Fly plus Brave Bird. Nava with the no shield. Azumarill is the damage sponge for this team. There's the Lapras safe switch, banking the Ice Beam for later. And now we get to see Sableye once again beat the counter swap. Sableye will probably go for a pretty similar play pattern here, where Sableye can't quite get the double up due to the fact that the opponent does have a few Psy Waves of energy advantage. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Nava will get this same shield and then can look to pretty significantly overfarm against this Lapras. Will get the double up on foul plays. This should be a no shield from the opponent, and the question is, did they bring back that Jumpluff as the final Pokemon? If they did, then Clodsire is going to be an issue, but it's not. It's Claydol, so they adjusted the strategy, and now this could get very, very tricky. Sableye gets farmed down. Azumarill does have an Ice Beam loaded, but this Clodsire, it was looking for the Jumpluff, but now it's going to have to deal with the Claydol. This is looking very, very difficult. There is a move available on the Talonflame. Do you shield and switch? Anticipating a combo play here. There it is. Oh no! Unfortunately, the Ice Beam is lost. There is the combo play, the fly from the Talonflame. In comes the Clodsire, and it's going to be Clodsire versus the world. Has enough damage been done to the Claydol where Clodsire can actually take this game? Mud Slaps and Ice Beams are going to add up. It looks like all that's needed now is going to be the Stone Edge. Can Clodsire hang on? It's very bulky. Ice Beam connects. Mud Slaps adding up as well, and Clodsire does it. A brilliant adjustment in strategy from Himanshu almost spells disaster, but Nava claws his way back, and he's moving on to Winners Round 3. Winners Round 3 is against Austin Prince 44, running a very, very unique team. Blastoise, Corviknight, Cradily, Clodsire, Shadow Sableye, and Wigglytuff. Shadow Sableye is a complete meta staple. We're seeing it on most teams for good reason. It's flexible into just about anything you can encounter. For game number 1, Furret returns, but that's not the lead that Nava was hoping to see leading into Corviknight. Corviknight will be answered with the Shadow Sableye save switch, but before it can fire off the foul play, Corviknight is going to go for a Sky Attack and grab a shield. There's a switch out into Blastoise. Blastoise does have some pretty solid bulk, so it will be able to withstand multiple foul plays. However, If it lets this next one go, it can still make another Hydro Cannon, but it would get Shadow Clawed down if Nava double shielded, so we will actually see a shield come up from the opponent. Hydro Cannon connects, that's quite a lot of damage onto Sableye, but Sableye refuses to get farmed down. One final foul play launched at the Blastoise, and flipping switch advantage. That is incredibly clutch. Now Furret is not going to have to deal with the Corviknight. Instead, Corviknight is going to be up against Sand Slash. Sand Attack, of course, does hit for super effective damage here, but Sand Attack, when it does not get same type attack bonus, not a particularly threatening move. Ice Punch is going to land. Corviknight has farmed up quite a bit of energy. Sand Slash is going to no shield as the Iron Head comes through. There's a switch to Furret. In the back is Clodsire. And this is where Furret's going to need to start boosting up with Trailblaze if it wants to work its way through this incredibly bulky Pokemon. Furret is not in a range where any one move will be able to knock out, so we will see a no shield as the opponent is going to try and knock out via double Sludge Bomb. Furret now going for Trailblaze number 2, Nava just relying on the boosted Sucker Punch damage to try and take home this victory. It looks like the opponent is healthy enough that they will be able to make it to a third Sludge Bomb. We are going to see the shield and the catch of the Sludge Bomb onto the Alolan Sandslash, where it is going to be very heavily resisted. There's the switch into Corviknight, and Corviknight is going to fire off its move. Corviknight Iron Head will pick up the knockout, but Furret gets the Sucker Punch down, and now Furret will get the farm down of the Clodsire as well. So despite a terrible lead, Shadow Sableye flipping switch proves to be incredibly clutch. And Furret puts in massive work against Clodsire in the endgame. Now for game number 2, honestly, I feel like there's a lot of options here. The Corviknight on paper is threatening, but Corviknight really struggles in the 2-shield matchups versus a lot of these Pokemon. And we see Corviknight into the Shadow Sableye, and Shadow Sableye absolutely bullies Corviknight in the 2-shield. In the 2-shield, Corviknight doesn't even get to land a charge attack, so Sableye gets to exit very healthy. The only damage it's taking is from the sand attacks. So Sableye is going to give up an early shield at the back-to-back foul plays. The no shield from the opponent. Sableye is now going to go for foul play number 2. Is the opponent really willing to invest a shield in this matchup? Yes, they're protecting the Corviknight. They want to try and land a move on the Sableye. Sableye with the double shield, opponent will have to pivot out to avoid a farm down. Safe switch Clodsire is going to be answered with the regular Alolan Sandslash. Now, part of the reason why the regular Alolan Sandslash can be clutch is the fact that a bunch of Poison Stings plus an Earthquake do not knock out. So in the 0 shield, this is fine. A Shadow would have been in some pretty serious trouble there, but the regular can function very fine in a shields down scenario. Here, Nava's going to go for an undercharge. He actually doesn't want to knock out the Clodsire because, again, Pokemon Go PvP is not a linear game. It's about getting energy advantage. The opponent is actually going to pivot out as well. They pivot at a Blastoise as Nava sends in the Sableye. Sableye foul play is going to connect, getting to another foul play as well. And this Shadow Sableye is just taking over. So much pressure onto the Blastoise. Blastoise finally going to unleash a Hydro Cannon, but for Sableye, it's more than done its job. There's the Azumarill in the back, and there's a very low health Alolan Sandslash in case a catch needs to happen. Skull Bash can come through from the Blastoise, but the Blastoise has just lost too much HP from trying to get rid of this Sableye. Azumarill farming up, waiting the turn, no catch for the opponent coming through. Player Off will pick up the knockout, and they just have a very low health Corviknight, which is getting farmed down, and a very low health Clodsire, which is getting farmed as well. The next round of the tournament is winners semifinals, and this is a very important game. If you advance to winners finals, are guaranteed a top 3 finish, and the top 4 in this tournament get automatic invites to the World Championships. So if Nava's able to win against Fake XX Soul, he will get his Worlds qualification. Fake XX Soul is running a team with Azumarill, Talonflame, Cradily, Swalot, Shadow Sableye, and Guzzlord. The leads are set. Furret into Talonflame. These Sucker Punches do add up quite a bit over time, but then again, so do these Incinerates. Talonflame, if they go for a fly, it will not knock out. They do need to land a Brave Bird here. We do see a shield anticipating a Brave Bird, but a great bait from the opponent, and now a safe switch into Azumarill. Azumarill immediately answered with the Trailblaze. Trailblaze is going to continue to ramp up this Furret more and more. Furret now putting even more pressure on this Azumarill. Azumarill is going to no shield. There's the switch into Clodsire. At this point, Clodsire just being used as a damage sponge, as Clodsire can actually take the hits from the Azumarill, whereas the Shadow Sableye would really not want to do so. Clodsire going to make it to a Stone Edge, not going to let Azumarill make another Ice Beam. In the back is going to be Swalot. Swalot, a pretty scary Pokemon. Mud Shot, super effective damage. Ice Beam, super effective damage as well. Ice Beam is going to land. Clodsire barely hanging on as it's able to fire off a Stone Edge bait. The bait is successful, grabbing the shield. In comes Shadow Sableye, but Shadow Sableye is going to have a tall task ahead of it. Sableye going to no shield. This guarantees that an Ice Beam will land, and that's some pretty significant damage. Back-to-back foul plays are reached. Swalot is very bulky. Swalot looks like it cannot hang on to the back-to-back moves. That's going to be a CMP tie, as we're going to see the foul play grab the final shield from the opponent. Talonflame is pretty close to a move as well, but Sableye is forced to shield here. Sableye running out of options. We're going to see a switch into the Furret, but I think staying in may have been the better play. It would have preserved a healthy Furret, whereas the remaining two Pokemon are potentially in farm down range for Swalot. Sableye is going to make the foul play. Foul play will knock out the Talonflame, but this is going to come down to a race of fast moves. In comes the Swalot. Swalot gets the farm down. Is it going to be a tie? No, it is not. 1 HP Swalot, and unfortunately, that's going to be a game 1 loss. Genuinely, I think that was a really solid line into what Fake XX Soul brought. Unfortunately, the end game wasn't quite enough to take home the win, but the line itself did feel very strong. For game number 2, we have lock-ins, and it looks like he's actually running back the exact same line. Furret, Shadow Sableye, and the Clodsire. Furret this time picking up a more favorable lead leading into Azumarill. Azumarill, of course, resisting Sucker Punches, but the Sucker Punches don't look very resisted after a couple Trailblazes. So Furret able to Trailblaze right off the bat. Azumarill returning fire with the Ice Beam. Ice Beam does make sense from the perspective of the Azumarill, because Azumarill is going to need 2 charge attacks to KO the Furret anyway. May as well go for the 2 cheaper ones. We're now going to see Azumarill firing off energy here. Ice Beam picks up the knockout, but Nava didn't want switch. He wanted Sableye energy. There's a pivot into Talonflame, but with the 1-turn switch, this allows Sableye to throw right when it gets the move, and it's perfect timing. Now a pivot out into Clodsire, and this Clodsire, if you remember from earlier, is on Stone Edge. Stone Edge going to do amazingly into the Talonflame. There's the Brave Bird. Talonflame correctly understanding that it's not in any danger from the Poison Stings, even at -3. So it would much rather try and land meaningful damage onto the Clodsire. Clodsire is going to be shielding up as the opponent is going to go for a fly. Clodsire hoping the clock is not yet available, but it is. There's the switch out. In comes Shadow Sableye, but Sableye instantly met with a hard-hitting Earthquake. Earthquake connects. There's the switch into his own Shadow Sableye. Can he potentially go for a 1-shield farm down here? If he can get the farm down, it would be game winning, and he does. Getting the farm down means this game is a win, because Talonflame is just not going to get to the fly that it needs to KO the Sableye. It's just getting knocked out here. In comes Azumarill. Sableye knows that Azu is nowhere close to a move, so it gets the full farm down, and we're going to a game number 3. So whoever wins this next game automatically qualifies for the World Championships. Nava's now run the same line 2 games in a row. Will he make the adjustment now? Anticipating an adjustment from Fake XX Soul. Leads are set. We do see the adjustment from Nava leading the Alolan Sandslash, and it looks like he is running the same backline with the Sableye and the Clodsire. This is where Fake not bringing a Mud Slap user is a bit unfortunate for him, because this allows Nava in this Show 6 style format to run lines that would not work in the Go Battle League, for example. So Azumarill going to fire off the Play Rough. This is not an amazing spot to be in as a Sandslash, but at the very least Sandslash will be able to get the Azumarill low, and as always try and set up farm for that Sableye. This Play Rough will not be enough to knock out. Azumarill is going to get this Sandslash very low, but Sandslash can hang on there barely, make it to the Drill Run, and now we are going to see Azumarill get a farm down. He actually didn't tap the Powder Snow there, because again, he wants the energy on the Sableye. There's going to be a switch into the Clodsire as Fake sends out Talonflame. Talonflame goes for the fly this time, no Brave Bird right off the bat, and Clodsire will be able to get shields down, and that's exactly what Nava is going to want in this matchup. Get shields down, and then hope that Shadow Sableye will be able to sweep in this endgame. as the Poison Stings do slowly add up, it does get closer and closer to a range where potentially Shadow Sableye can knock out with some Shadow Claws and a Foul Play. Down goes the Talonflame. In the back is Guzzlord, and this is going to be an interesting game. Sableye full sending here, straight for the Gleam. Do they shield? They do not. They call the bait. They get absolutely one shot, and Nava Empire punches his ticket to the World Championships. We now move to the winners finals against Master Mihir, who's running Lapras, Shadow Jumpluff, Bastiodon, Claydol, Shadow Sableye, and Guzzlord. Right off the bat, this Bastiodon is going to be trouble. We've got lock-ins for game number 1. And it's a nightmarish lead, Azumarill into Bastiodon. The safe switch into the Shadow Sableye is going to be answered with Jumpluff. And that's really not what you're hoping to see as Nava, because there's the Alolan Sandslash in the back, which would much rather see this Jumpluff. We're going to see a no shield. It is an Aerial Ace, and a Foul Play is going to be fired off in return. Foul Play into the Jumpluff is going to be shielded, so at the very least, Nava does get a shield advantage. Unfortunately, Sableye is going to get Fairy Winded down. In comes Sandslash. Sandslash more than happy to absorb the energy from the Jumpluff, and Sandslash really has to hope that it can sweep this endgame. Back-to-back moves reached by this Jumpluff. Second one will only be the Aerial Ace. That's very okay. In the back, oh, that's really bad news. It's the Lapras, and this game just feels pretty doomed. Lapras has such a dominant matchup against Powder Snow, Alolan Sandslash. We see the pivot into the Azumarill. Lapras farming up a ton of energy, and out comes Bastiodon, and Bastiodon is just a complete wall to the energy from the Azumarill. Azumarill can spam out Play Rough after Play Rough, but it just does nothing to the Bastiodon. Bastiodon, unfortunately, just looking absolutely indestructible in this game. We will see a shield come up from the Azumarill because you're going to have to shield something in this game, but with the amount of energy the Lapras has, there's just not really a path forward. Bastiodon firing off another charge attack. Azumarill is going to be double shielding. Azumarill's health is important, as that's the only thing that can prevent this Lapras from running away with the game. But unfortunately, you'd have to get through the Bastiodon first, and Bastiodon just refuses to shield. We see the switch into the Sandslash. Sandslash able to make a catch, catching the Stone Edge. That is still going to knock out. In comes Lapras, and Lapras is just not in Play Rough range, so this game's unfortunately going to be over anyway. Sparkling Aria is going to connect, making it to the Play Rough, but Lapras just does not have to worry about this damage. Lapras does end up shielding just because it had a shield remaining, but it wouldn't have knocked out regardless. Lapras going to fire off the slightly harder hitting Ice Beam, and that's a game 1 win for Master Mihir. That Bastiodon is just so polarizing. If you can land the Bastiodon onto the Clodsire or the Alolan Sandslash, you could potentially be in an okay spot, but my goodness, anywhere else, it's pretty miserable for Nava's team to deal with. Luckily, Nava has already secured the World's Invite, because this matchup is an absolute nightmare. For game 2, leads are set. We see the Alolan Sandslash, and it's being led into the Shadow Sableye. We do see Sableye and Azumarill in the back for Nava. If the Bastiodon has been brought by Mihir, it's going to be a very tough game for Nava, as Bastiodon has very strong play into the Pokemon in the back. Ice Punch is going to be shielded, so Master Mihir clearly going to make a play for switch advantage. Nava now with a difficult choice to make. He is going to let this go. Foul Play is going to pick up the knockout, and now in comes Azumarill. Azumarill farming up quite a bit. Shadow Sableye is going to get the connect with some pretty hard-hitting damage here. It is going to be the Dazzling Gleam, and now we're going to see a safe switch into Lapras. Lapras immediately met with a Play Rough. Play Rough is going to connect. There's the switch into the Sableye. Sableye is going to have to put in massive work in this endgame and hope that it's something that isn't the Bastiodon and isn't that Jumpluff. Sableye farming up. Foul Play won't quite be enough damage, so the correct play is to go for the Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam will pick up the knockout, but it's the Bastiodon again. Oh no! Shadow Sableye's up energy, which is where it does need to be, but Bastiodon is not what you're hoping to see. There's a pivot out into the Shadow Sableye. There's a switch and a catch onto the Azumarill. This is going to set up a farm down for the Azumarill, but the Sableye, it's just too low. Look at the health on this Bastiodon. Bastiodon much too healthy. It's going to fire off a move. This is a situation where you don't want to shield, but it almost feels like you have to because you just don't have the health available on the Sableye. Azumarill is going to go for the Play Rough. That just does so little, and Bastiodon, I think, is going to get a full farm down. Azumarill makes one final move, But even if Nava let that go, the Sableye is not healthy enough to take this game. So Bastiodon will make the move. That's going to KO the Sableye, and Nava is going to drop to the Losers Finals. The Losers Finals matchup is against Dansleaf, who's running a team with Azumarill, Mandibuzz, Credilli, Malamar, Alolan Sandslash, and Clodsire. At first glance, the Alolan Sandslashes for both trainers look pretty strong here, and I do see some pretty solid play for Sableye on both sides as well, so this should be a very interesting best of 3 series. Game number 1, bit of a tough lead for Nava, leading the Alolan Sandslash into Malamar. Malamar, of course, can easily one-shot with a superpower. Nava is going to respect it, but gets baited with a foul play. That's a bit unfortunate. Sandslash farming up just shy of the back-to-back Ice Punches. Opponent is going to be no shield in the first. Sandslash continuing the overfarm. We will see a double shield. Malamar foul play baits again. Oh, that is very unfortunate, as both shields are instantly gone from moves that actually would not have been enough to knock out. Here we're actually going to see a simultaneous switch out, Azumarill into Azumarill. And since it was timed identically, neither Pokemon is behind a turn, so this will play out like how a standard Azumarill mirror would. They're going to be trading play roughs, but even though this isn't the most exciting matchup ever, in an Azumarill mirror, especially in a mid-game, the thing to think about is, can either battler use this as an opportunity to gain an advantage? Like if Dansleaf is able to get Nava low, can he switch in the Malamar and get an energy advantage? Or will they just play it out and try and get each other as low as possible? It looks like they're staying in so far, farming up to the play rough. Nava is going to win the CMP tie. Let's see, can the opponent hang on here? Play rough does not knock out. That's a 1 HP survive from the opponent. Nava is going to survive as well, and it ends up being a simultaneous knockout. Neither trainer able to generate a meaningful advantage. He's going to send in the Sandslash, met with the Malamar, and unfortunately this is going to be the end of the road for the Sandslash, getting knocked out with a superpower in the back. We do see the Alolan Sandslash for Dansleaf and up a shield. The opponent is going to be able to take game 1 here, as Sableye can do some pretty nice damage with a foul play, but it's just not going to be enough. Foul play number 2 is reached, but the opponent, still with the shield to hide behind, is in control of this game, as now they're going to get to fire off this Ice Punch. That's going to get the Sableye low, and there's Ice Punch number 2 immediately thereafter. So unfortunately for Nava, he's now down 1-0 in this best of 3 series. Going to need to make some adjustments in game number 2. Unfortunately, the Sandslash, which does look pretty strong into Dansleaf's team, got really poor alignment in that first game, and that made it really difficult to fight back and generate any kind of meaningful advantage. I think it's pretty safe to assume that Shadow Sableye plus Alolan Sandslash will be coming every game from Nava just because of how strong that duo is, but the goal will be trying to construct a line where they can get better value than in game 1. Sandslash on the lead once again, this time not catching the Malamar, going to be met with Azumarill. And this is neutral enough that this is pretty okay. Like, when push comes to shove, there are better matchups for Alolan Sandslash, but this is so much better than getting stuck against the Malamar, which mirrors pacing, but can one-shot with a superpower. So Sandslash, very comfortable no-shielding, as Azumarill is going to return fire with the Play Rough. Sandslash farming up, now 1 off the back-to-back drill runs. The opponent can potentially choose to undertap here if they want to, but that Play Rough will not be enough to knock out. We saw that before. It leaves the Sandslash very, very low, but it's not enough to KO. Sandslash now going to fire off the drill run. We do see a switch by the opponent into their own Sandslash. They shield up the drill run, and now that's going to be answered with the Shadow Sableye. Sableye farming up, winning the CMP tie over the Sandslash. This foul play will inflict some pretty solid damage. The opponent actually with a double shield. In game 1, it was Nava who had to burn 2 shields instantly. In game 2, it's Dansleaf who has to burn both those shields. Shadow Sableye is going to commit the shield. Getting meaningful damage on the Sandslash will be very, very helpful. Clocks up, in comes Azumarill. Great patience by Nava with an overfarm, getting to fire off this foul play. Foul play is going to connect, and the Shadow Claw after means Sableye leaves with a move loaded, banking that move for later, thinking it will be more impactful, sending in this Azumarill. And Azumarill is now going to be used as a damage sponge. The hope is whatever's in back, a foul play plus a move from Azumarill will be enough to KO. We're going to see a throw on alignment from the opponent. They just want whatever damage they can get. We are going to see a shield from the Azumarill keeping itself healthy, and now it will go for the Play Rough. Play Rough is resisted damage, but it is going to be enough. And in the back, it's Mandibuzz, and this is looking very strong for Nava. It's a Snarl Mandibuzz, so they don't even have fast move pressure in this matchup. Play Rough connects, hitting for super effective damage. Nava, at this point, I think trying for a fancy catch might honestly be the loose con. The safe play is just to stay in with the Azumarill, and that's exactly what he's doing, understanding the situation. This is a good matchup. There's no need to overcomplicate things when you can just make it to another Play Rough. This should comfortably put the Mandibuzz into foul play range, and we know from earlier that foul play is banked, and there is the combo play. Nava fights off elimination. We're going to a game number 3, where the winner gets a trip to the grand finals and a match against Master Mahir and his Bastiodon. So, bringing a very similar team to game number 2, Nava, just with better alignment there, getting a lot more value out of the Sandslash, and that Sableye proved to be an absolute nightmare in the endgame. Dansleaf tried to potentially snipe with the Sandslash, but it ended up costing him. Here we have Shadow Sableye versus the Sandslash, and Nava actually benching the Sandslash for this crucial game number 3. Instead, there's a Jumpluff, and Jumpluff has to be ecstatic that it's going to avoid this Alolan Sandslash, which is in the lead. Sableye very comfortable with the no-shield after Sandslash no-shielded themselves. It is going to be the Ice Punch. Next move will be reached on a CMP tie. Do we see a catch from the opponent? No, both trainers over farming, and Nava is going to fire off the foul play. That's going to be shielded. Sandslash goes for a massive farm down. In comes Azumarill, and that's bad news, as unfortunately Dansleaf is actually able to save all that energy. Ideally, Nava was hoping the energy would get thrown into the Azumarill, but saving the energy now means the Jumpluff is a liability. So when Azu hits the field, Jumpluff is now going to greet it. Jumpluff no shield in the Ice Beam, understanding that if it shields, it's just going to be hit with the back-to-back moves from the Sandslash anyway. Firing off this Energy Ball into the Azumarill does not knock out. And now this is such a tough call to make, choosing to let it go, putting it all on Azumarill, but it's going to be Credilli in the back, and that's not what Azumarill was hoping to see. Credilli will be able to spam debuffs with Rock Tomb, and that's really going to make life difficult for the Azumarill. Azumarill with the no shield, understanding this will be a guaranteed Rock Tomb from the Credilli. The situation demands it. Credilli is going to get to a second move, winning the CMP tie, and Nava has 2 shields to hide behind, but he's running out of options. He is going to no shield, calling another Rock Tomb, but even though he successfully called the bait twice, he's now 2 stages debuffed. That means his Ice Beams do absolutely nothing, and Credilli can just go straight Rock Tomb from here on out. So even though he did successfully call 2 Rock Tombs, now he's going to have to start shielding Rock Tombs. There's a switch into the Sandslash. Sandslash is going to be firing off Drill Run. Drill Run is going to be shielded. Another move reached by the Sandslash. This is only going to be an Ice Punch, but it's just too much for this Azumarill to deal with. In comes Credilli. Looks like Credilli did get denied there at the end, but it's not going to matter. Credilli gets the farm down, and Nava is going to finish this tournament with a 3rd place finish, and that qualifies him for the World Championships in Anaheim, California in August. Big congratulations to Nava. Getting to qualify for Worlds and running a pretty interesting pick in Furret as well is an incredibly cool accomplishment. And also, thank you for sending in this footage. It is a bit of a shame that a lot of the tournaments that aren't in Latin America, North America, or Europe are not streamed, so I'm very happy that we still get to see a lot of these players compete through people sending in their footage. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching content like this is the More Slice Henry channel, my second channel where I mainly cover the Pokemon Go competitive series, educational content, and Go Battle League content occasionally that's slightly outside the norm. So if you enjoy content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.